That finally I'm me, I'm able to live my life and be myself for the first time. And if you held all of that back in your life for 56, 57 years, and finally now I'm born, a whole new meaning to the term born again. Hi, I'm Stephanie James and I'm from St. Louis. When I was 3 or 4 years old, I knew there was something very, very different, something maybe not quite right, and that I was always called a mama's boy, and early years I didn't like sports, preferred the more gentle life, so to speak. My parents still say they're stunned by what I did because I didn't present until later in life. There's transgender people that present as children, and then others that don't present until middle life or possibly even later. Doesn't mean that I didn't always feel like I should have been a woman or wanted to be a girl. I mean, that was always present, but it was a deep, dark secret, something that couldn't talk about, just was impossible to talk about. If I had known earlier in life, I knew at an early age, comparatively speaking at 24, that I wish I could have had a sex change operation. I knew as soon as I heard that they had done that, that's what I want. I mean, and most of my life, I struggled with, why do I have these feelings? Why do I want to do these things? And why am I, other people obviously at that time weren't having these same thoughts and doing these same things. But it wasn't until much later, until my 50s, that I had any terminology for this, any vocabulary and language to describe this, and then to find out that there was a name, that I'm transsexual, and that there's a course of action you can take, and that as soon as I had an opportunity, that's what I went for. Of course, I heard of Christine Jorgensen and Renee Richards. Then later on, there were people like Boy George, and I'm thinking, oh my, that would be cool. And there were others along the way. I just knew that that's what I wanted, but I didn't dare say anything. Orientation, gay is your sexual orientation. And transgender is, how you feel about yourself internally, what your gender and gender expression is. I've always liked women. My orientation really hasn't changed. I am seeing a man right now. We'll talk about dating later maybe, but no, orientation, I still like women, and I always probably will. I can be with the right man to an extent, but I still really love women the best. I wished that I could just, like men, it would make life so much easier. My counselor said that maybe upwards of half, once they transition physically, they assume the normal orientation for their gender. I was hoping that would happen. Didn't happen. In my single days, I dated a lot of women. It was the perfect thing for me because they had what I wanted, and I liked being around them. I felt just so girly when I was with a girl. And yet I had to act a certain amount of macho to fit the role, role playing in a big way. I dated many gals. I'm not going to give you the number, but I've had relations with a lot of women. And I liked it so much because, then I got married when I was 27 for the first time. Getting married was an attempt to finally, I'm going to go through with this. I'm going to live a normal life, damn it. I'm going to, do what everybody does, and I'm just going to figure that, you know, I'm going to have to buck up and do it. And I was successful at that for maybe the first 10 years or so. My marriage after 15 years was more of an endurance contest. We had 3 boys. They're all grown now. I honored my role to be father, and we didn't divorce until the children were essentially on their own. Then when I told her after the divorce, she went ballistic. She, I guess, rightfully thought that I had lied to her all those years about who I really was. I don't necessarily see it that way, because I was lying to myself that I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what to call it. So the things that I would do for release and for gratification sometimes included her, but mostly not. So I was leading a dual life. When she wasn't around, sometimes I would cross-dress. Sometimes I would just say act out my sexual fantasies alone. We've spoken a few times in the last year in a normal, mature adult way for brief periods of time. Prior to that, out of 13 phone conversations, 12 of the time she wound up screaming and yelling. She's not at all a friend. I do miss her from time to time. After all, we spent 30 years being married. We went to kindergarten together, and we went to high school together. So it's a person I've known all my life, and now that relationship is totally severed. Not my choice, but hers. The cost has been very high. I've had dreams about my ex. I have them on a recurring basis. I have dreams about my oldest son, who is estranged from me as well. When she told him about me, that was the last time I had communication with him. And that's been a big hurt. She did not give me the opportunity to talk to him about it. Made a mistake. I asked her how maybe I could break it to him. She went ballistic, and that was the end of it. Then he picked up the phone when he heard from my ex, and he called my mom and dad and told them. They were almost 80. They were 80 at the time. I thought I was going to kill them. It's been extreme. I was mad, I was hurt, I was crushed and mortified. I was going to tell my parents last, you know. They were the last ones on the list, and it turned out they were among the first. It sure didn't go the way I'd hoped. And it doesn't always go the way you hope, you know. It's new territory every time someone comes out. You don't know how it's going to go. I've got a better relationship with my younger son, who is now 25. My middle son, guess it's safe to say that he's gay, and he's 28. We have a relationship. We're not particularly close, but, you know, we're getting through it all, and, you know, we carry on. Living the male role, I was not a happy person. Drank quite a bit. Felt very awkward socially. I was not happy. I had learned a lot of behaviors from my father, who taught me a lot of things that I had to unlearn. If I go down to the Grove, you know, I can't walk 20 feet without being stopped by somebody and, "Hi, Steph," and give me hugs and all of this. I've been on different boards of directors, St. Louis Gender Foundation. For a while I was on the board of directors for the SAGE organization here in St. Louis, on the advisory board for the LGBT Center. I also did quite a bit of time, 2.5 years worth of being on the phone for the St. Louis Gender Foundation and counseling, not really counseling, but listening to people that were coming out and giving them tips. As far as now, I mean, I've got a great many friends. My girlfriend Andrea, she says, "Oh, I like your personality now so much more than before." She knew me both ways, and I'm happy. I love life. Every day's an adventure. Life's too short not to be happy, and now I'm doing the happy part, and it's fantastic. It's everything and more than I thought it would be.